Welcome everyone and welcome to our session today. So for this session in our Virtual U program, we're going to be focusing on sharing and collaborating securely in Office 365. My name is Adam DiProspero and I am joined with my co-host Cheryl Dickey. We're both from Talent Acquisition and Development and we're very excited to get to meet with everyone today and speak on the topic. We're also joined by Bruce Fisher from UIT, and he's going to be helping to answer some questions that might come up from all of you. So if you do have any questions through the duration of today's session, we invite you to click on the participants button and click on raise hand. And from there, when I reach a logical break in what I'm talking about, I will look for the raise hand symbol and I can address your questions. We're encouraging people to use the raise hand feature, but of course, if you're having difficulty with your mic or for any other reason, if you do prefer to use the chat, by all means, go ahead. All right, so our agenda for today, what exactly are we going to be covering here? So we're going to start off with addressing the two big terms in the title of this course. So this session's all about arguably the best features in Office 365, sharing and collaboration. So when we actually came up with the title for the course, we found it was really important to include both of those words, sharing and collaborating. And at first, when Cheryl suggested it, I thought, well, what's the difference? I'm hoping through the next hour or so to demonstrate that these are in fact different, and both of them have their own considerations. So once we understand those base definitions, we'll move on to actually getting into the Office 365 platform, some review on how to access it, the different ways you could do that. And then we'll quickly move on to actually sharing files from OneDrive. Okay, once we have a basis in understanding how we could share out files with our colleagues using the OneDrive Online platform, we're going to look at how to do it from other platforms as well, or other methods. So for example, what if you want to share a file you're currently working on in Microsoft Word desktop application, or if you're in your email and you want to share something out from there. So we'll see all of the different apps and the different ways you can do that. And then towards the end of the course, we'll have a nice demonstration on how you actually collaborate in Docs and the tools available to allow you to maybe co-author and have multiple people in a file at the same time. Like with all of our courses, we have a couple of assumptions. So, this course is pretty open to everyone. We're just working from the assumption that you do have the familiarity with Office 365. You know how to access it, and maybe you have a couple of files in there at least. And you've already, stored files not only in OneDrive, but hopefully also in Teams. If this isn't the case, if you're very new to Teams, like in our other courses, we do have resources that we can share with you in chat and in my follow-up email as well. Okay, understanding sharing and collaboration. So for the course, we're going to be using the following definitions in the context of Office 365. Starting with sharing. So sharing is the process of taking a file or folder, okay, so it could be an individual file or a whole group of files that reside in a folder, and granting access to other individuals. So this could be storing files on a team site, automatically granting access to all of those members in the team site. Or it could also be taking a file that you have on your personal OneDrive and generating a link for it and either making it available to everyone or specifying individual people that now have access to that OneDrive in some capacity, whether it's sharing it for the intention of view access only, or also sharing it with the intention of going on to our next phrase here, collaboration. You want to share it, give people edit access, and allow them to edit. So with collaboration, this is the process of actually working on a particular document together, but also, in addition to working on the document, in our definition, we're also including the conversations and the communication that happens to facilitate that work. Okay, so there might be times when you're heavily using like the chats in the Teams app and you're talking about a specific document, right? Or something's going on in a channel, right? But the end goal is always, for the most part, you're working in an Excel file, you're co-authoring it, you're going to want to have multiple people working in there at once. Okay. So in some cases, you're only sharing out a file. Maybe you're only doing the first topic of this course, and you don't need anyone to contribute to something. You just have a doc that you're working on, it's being periodically updated, and you're sending it out. So for example, some of the resources we have for this course, I share out read-only copy of it, but at the same time, whenever I want, I can go in and edit that file, and people who are looking at it after I've edited it see those latest changes. There might be other times where you need to do both. Maybe I'm sharing something to my colleagues, and the intention is I want Vanessa and Cheryl to work in that file and edit it either with me at the same time, we're all looking at it at the same time, or whenever we have time, we can go in there and edit it and work on it. So those are the definitions we're working off of in the context of Office 365. Okay. So now that we have that covered, let's take a quick look at exactly what it would mean to share out a document and to collaborate on a document. So I'll start by going to portal.office.com, or better yet, we have our uoffice.yorku.ca, which is live. If you're new to Microsoft Office, Office 365 at York, a lot of really great resources down here. I'm not going to get into it right now, but just be aware this is an excellent site to get started if you are curious about the ins and outs of O365 at York. For now, I'm just going to click on Access O365, sign in with my email here, or rather my, my email address, but my Passport York credentials. So I'll sign in here. And now that I'm in, I'm going to click on OneDrive. So I'm going to show you how we can take something stored in OneDrive and share that out. So now I'm in my OneDrive. You can see all of my all the various folders I currently have stored in here. So I'm going to click on one of these folders, and I have this file that I want to share out, and I have this share icon right here. I'll click on this. And it's just a matter of setting the permission. So I'm going to switch this. I want to say I want to share this with specific people. Okay, and I'll enter in the person's name over here. And I can either copy the link. I could do a few things. I'm just going to click send over here. And what's going to happen is that user is now going to get a message inviting them to share the document. So I can show you what that looks like over here. So this is my other user, and you can see Adam DuProspero has shared this. So I can click on that now and click. So this is what the email looks like. I can click on it. So it's telling me I've received a secure link. That's great. And now notice as the recipient, I can open this document right in Word Online. Okay, and I can edit it directly from here. So I'm going to start to maybe do a few things. Maybe I think this over here, I want to highlight it for whatever reason. So as one user is working on that, I'll move this over here. I'll go back to my main account, and I can go in here and notice whatever the other user is doing. So you can see right here, I maybe want to edit this top part, but I could see exactly where Robin Teacher is, right? So as I'm editing that, you can see that they're deleting something, maybe fixing some errors, but it's all happening in real time. Okay, so we're co-authoring this. I can also go up here and I can see some information about them. I can go to their exact location, and it works quite nicely. If I want, I can even click on Open in Desktop app. Give it a second to load, and it opened up on my other screen, so I'll just move it over. And we get the same kind of ability here. So if I'm up here, Robin Teacher might go over here. Sometimes, since if you're in the desktop app, it doesn't happen as instantaneously, but you can see up here, it does say that Robin is in here, okay? So now from here, I can go and as Robin, I'll change a word here. So you can see Robin's deleting, and we can see that. So pretty neat. It works very nicely. What I'm doing right now, I just want to show you the overall process of it. We're going to get into the step-by-step of each of these, but this should give you some context to what we're going to be talking about over the next few steps. So I'm going to close this down. I'm going to close out of that handout, and then we could jump right back into the presentation. Okay, so now that we've done a quick demo to show you what it looks like, let's talk about the principle behind this and the key aspect that makes this work, and that is linking, okay, linking to files instead of attaching files. So it's important to understand that what we're doing here, I sent something off to my test account, Robin Teacher. We were able to work on it together. That's because I didn't attach that file to an email and email a new copy off. I shared a link with that individual. So we're not sending a copy like we typically do with an attachment. We're sharing a link. So, you know, our traditional approach with this is, you know, we attach a file, right? I'm going to go, I want to collaborate with someone, I'm going to attach a file. So I have this file over here, and I send it off to 4 of my colleagues, and I type an email saying, hey, it'd be really nice if you could take a look at this. If you have any suggestions, please mark up the document, send it back to me. After I do this, I realize, oh, shoot, what have I done? Now I'm getting possibly 4 copies back. Now I have to do some merging, and these are all individual copies. Remember, these were attachments, right? Each person received a new copy. Now they're sending them back to me with their changes, and I'm pulling my hair out because now I have to merge all these changes. So that's if you were to share an attachment. In this course, it's all about sharing links, not attachments. So if we were to share a link instead, it would look something like this. So same idea. This individual has access to this file on their OneDrive. They can copy a link to that. They can share it directly from OneDrive. There's a number of ways to do it. But once they send it out, each of these people have a link directly to that file. They can edit it, work on it, and all those changes are going to exist in only one version of this. We don't have multiple versions, okay? There's no need to merge changes, and if there's multiple people editing it, as we're going to see, you can see them all in there at the same time. So you might be thinking, well, why don't I just put the file on my shared drive? We have this trusty shared drive at York. Everyone can access it, right? So this is our network drive that I'm referring to. Well, you can go ahead and do that, but if you've tried it, you've probably seen this fun message, right? This file is locked for editing by someone else. Do you want to open a read-only? And then you're in the same situation there, okay? So that's the limitation of that. So we saw that, you know, there are actually many places that you can start this sharing and collaborating process. We saw a quick demo using the OneDrive interface. What we're going to do, we're going to spend more time on that OneDrive interface, really go through it step by step. What are the different changes you can make in the settings and what impact that has. But then we will go to see how you can do this from your desktop app. You have your Excel on your desktop. How can you share from there? We'll see how to do it from the online apps as well. So you're using Word Online. So you don't have to do it necessarily from OneDrive. I'm going to start by showing that, and then we'll get into the different ways to do it. So we'll go back to the browser app here. And I'll go back to my files over here and sharing and collaborating files folder. And we'll work out of this for now. Okay, so from here, let's actually go back to the main area here. So first and foremost, we have our navigation pane over here, so we can view our files, recent, shared, and so on. So we have a few different views we can take. In this center area, this is where I'm going to see all of my folders and files. If I click off one of these, at the top I get my navigation bar, or my action bar rather, where I can choose, do I want to share this folder, copy, download it, a few other things, move it around. I can also, right from here, just click on, notice as I hover over these, I see a share icon, so I can click on that. That takes me to my share area. I can also click on the 3 dots to get to my action menu over here. If you want to start sharing things from OneDrive, first step is you have to have files in your OneDrive. So if this is one of your first time using OneDrive, you can click on the upload button and choose whether you want to upload files or folders. You can click on either of those and it will take you through the process of uploading those files or folders over there. Okay, so let's go back into our folder over here and take a look at the share dialog. So I have this file and I can click on share. Okay, so I'm going to demo again, I want to reiterate, I'm going to demo how to use the share icon here, but later on we're going to see you can do the same thing from our desktop apps and everything else as well. So whatever I'm doing here, if you're thinking, well, I don't use the OneDrive interface, I have it on my desktop, or I just use the Office apps, pay attention still, because what I'm going to cover here applies to all those other areas. Okay, so we clicked on our share button and notice what it says up here, send link, okay? And it's allowing us to edit the permissions of the link, all right? So I wanna really stress that. We're not saying who has direct access to this file. By clicking on the share button, we're gonna create a link and say who can use that link, okay? So by default, it's set to people in York University with the link can edit. So at this point, I could just click copy link, paste it in an email, share it out. I can also start typing up individual people's names like this and find them in the list. And what will happen is if I put a few people on here and then click send, they will get a copy of this link. Now, even though it's only a few people getting a copy, anyone with the link can edit it. So that means they're free to go and start passing it on and sharing it with other people. If we want to change that, we can click on the link type here, and then we get the full list. So this one has been disabled globally at York, so you can't generate a link that just anyone can access. So the broadest you can get is people within York University with the link. If you want to start narrowing it down a bit, you could say people with existing access. So maybe this file over here, it resides in a folder that has already been shared out. We're on a team site, so I can just generate this link and I'll send it out. Just maybe a use cases. I want to remind people, oh, we're working on this document. Here's quick access to it. So they already have access to it, just generating that link again. Probably this one's going to be the most used, specific people. So with this, we will mention those specific individuals who can then use this link and access it. From there, I can also enable or disable editing. So maybe I do want to allow people to edit. And then I click apply. And then now I start typing in the names of the individuals that will be able to work with this link. Okay, so let's talk about the options we have here. I can click send, I can click copy link, or the Outlook button. So the question is, do you want to automatically send the link via this dialog? Like for Kiwi Student, if I click send and they get this message saying, here is, that message, that email I showed earlier, and I'll just bring it up to remind you. If you do that, they're gonna get this. Add and Prospero shared this file with you, you can click open. If maybe they're gonna get that and you're afraid that your user is gonna say, well, I don't even know what this is. This is a project plan or something. I have no idea what's going on. That's the case. Instead of just sending it, you can add an optional message. Okay, so that's one consideration. Maybe you have a larger plan going on. This file is a part of a bigger picture, and this message area isn't really going to cut it, right? I think this is limited to like 400 words, 500 words, something like that. So instead what you can do is you can copy the link. So it's generating a shareable link. You could copy that and then go into your Outlook email where you've already maybe drafted up a long list of steps and a bunch of other considerations and some questions. And this is just one part of a larger process, right? So now I'm going to paste that in there, okay? And then, of course, that last button there, I'll just open this up again to show you. The last button is if you click on Outlook, it's going to open up your Outlook browser, automatically paste it in there, allow you to start typing up the email. So just a few different ways to go about that there. Okay, so that's the general idea that we're working off of here. We have our share dialog. We can see that anytime I refer to the share dialog, this is what I'm talking about, this little screen here, okay? Saw it in OneDrive. It's the same process, very, very similar across all of the apps. So I want to show you the different ways now. And while there are many areas that allow you to share files, please don't be overwhelmed right now. I'm going to go through like a bunch of different apps, but the point is to show you that no matter where you are, you should have a share icon there. So don't think that, oh, you want to share something, you're in PowerPoint desktop app, you need to then go and find where that's actually located on OneDrive. No, wherever you are, provided the document is saved to OneDrive, you'll be able to share it from exactly the app you're in. Okay. So there's some samples there. Okay, sharing it via the Office Online app. So over here you can see I'm in Office Online. If I wanna get to that, let me bring my window over here. So I'm in my Office 365 page, and maybe if I click on Word over here, you can see I'm in Word, and I can open up a document, and it's loaded right in Word. And what the icon will look like is this share button right here, okay? Notice that as I get smaller, it changes to this. So that little box with the arrow jumping out of it, that's your share icon. And when I click it, it looks exactly the same as it did inside of our OneDrive app, okay? So we have our Word, and we just click on the share icon there. If you're in Office Desktop, same idea. So I'll open up our the class handout that we'll get into later on. So this is the desktop app. Notice I'm no longer in the browser. You can see I'm in the desktop app. And same thing, I can click on the share button, and it looks a little different. The border looks a bit different, and I can move it around now. That's just the nature of the desktop application. But same idea, I see all those same icons, and I can start sharing it out this way. It also gives us this option down here if you want to send a copy. So this is something that appears to be specific for the desktop application. So for the most part, we're discouraging this. You don't want to send copies. We're encouraging that people send links. So we have one copy. We're not dealing with multiple. Okay, so that's what it looks like in the desktop app. In the desktop app, you can also go to File, Share, and it gives you kind of a few more options here if you want to just email something out, convert it to PDF, and a few more things. But really what we're encouraging people to do is to use that dialog. So if I click on Share with People, it takes you back to that same thing. Microsoft's trying really hard to keep that consistency across. And just to show you that it is pretty consistent, I could open up the Excel app as well. And we should see, if I open up just a blank workbook here, you get that same button, right? So I can click on that. And in this case, it's saying which account I want to use. So I can go to my OneDrive. I'm going to save it. So what's happening here is I'm working from a blank workbook. It's not actually saved in OneDrive. So it's allowing me to first save it, and then I can share it out. Okay. So a few notes about all of this. For one, you do have to be logged into OneDrive on your local, if this is the desktop account. So if I click here, you can see I'm signed in over here. And also if I go to Files and Accounts, you'll see that it's logged in over here as well. Those are the two ways to check that out, okay? Now, when I go and say New File, or even Open, if I click Open, I can actually select my OneDrive there. If you don't see your OneDrive here, you could also say Add a Place, and this is where you go to start adding all of that in. Okay, once it's added and we go back here, notice that autosave is turned on. So what this means is that as you go along, as you make changes, so if I make a change here, what should happen is every now and then you're going to periodically see, so if I make a more significant change, something like that, you're going to see up here, it says that it's saving. So it's periodically going to save the document. You don't have to go and manually save it. If you want, you can click on the save button up here, but it's always going to be saving those files there. Okay. If you have the OneDrive app installed on your computer, you can also share from your desktop as well. I could drag over my Windows Explorer. So this is on my desktop, right? And I can click on any of these files and I can click share, and check this out. It brings up that same menu. So even though I'm in my Windows Explorer, I could go to my, now notice I'm not clicking it anywhere. I'm specifically in a OneDrive folder here. But from there, I can still share out just the same. Okay. So back to it. We want to remind people to periodically audit the files that they've been shared. So regardless of how you share your files from one of those methods, it's important to do an audit on what you've shared out and remove any sharing links that are no longer needed. So the easiest way to do this is to go to the Shared by Me page in OneDrive, and from there, see what you've shared out and decide if you need to remove anything. So we'll go back here, and I could go to the Shared button and Shared by You. And then I could pick something, this user guide, for example, and I could say Manage Access. And from here, I can see who has direct access and who has, or rather, what kind of links I've generated. So maybe another example, this Zoom resources over here, this, let me find it. There's a really nice one that I have here, running effective Zoom sessions. So if I look at this, I could say Manage Access, and I could see that I've created a link that specific people can edit. I've created a link that specific people can view. And then I also have, I've added Marcella as a direct editor of this as well. So that is possible. You can click on the Grant Access, and instead of generating a link, you're granting people direct access to it. So it's good to look at this, go through it, and figure out who has access to what and clean it up periodically. So you could ask some questions to help you decide. So are you sharing a document that's maybe no longer up to date? You have some old information out there you want to clean up, remove the sharing for it, maybe share out a new file. Are you sharing something with a public link that maybe you did that a while ago and you think only a smaller group of people should have access to that? You can get rid of that link and retool the link there. And then if there's, of course, files that are just no longer relevant anymore, it's not that there's an updated version or anything like that, it's just old, you can just the same go in and start removing the links there. So it's good to check out the Shared with Me page, or Shared with You page as it's called, every now and then, just to see and make sure that everything in there is looking okay. If you do want to change any of that, when you're on your Manage Access page, I can click on the three dots here and just say, delete this link. So maybe I don't want these individuals to be able to edit anymore, and they're aware of that. They know we're done what we had to do. So it's it makes sense for them as well. Cleans up their Outlook shared with you from their end. So that's kind of nice. It works for everyone there. Okay, let's look at a few more things here. We're gonna go on to sharing and collaborating in Teams itself. So I'll open up my, my Teams app here. And we'll work out of this for the remainder of the session. So let's talk about some of the essential collaboration features that are built into Teams. First and foremost, you can have your channels. So I'm in my team and I have channels that you can create around specific projects or topics. Within the channels, you could use the different tabs for easy access to important files. So we have our post tab here, but then I can click files and then I can see whatever files have been generated for that, okay? And we're gonna use the files tab to store and access files for each of these channels. Any files stored in your team will be accessible to all members of the team right away. There's no need to share them out. But with that being said, sometimes you do have files that are kind of buried deep in there, right? So let's say we're on our posts area here, and I know that we're gonna all be working on a specific file in our group, and I just want to make it really easy for people to access. So what I can do is click on the attach icon, and it's a little deceiving because this point I've been saying make sure to link, don't attach. But what we'll see is that when you're attaching, you can attach a link, okay? Because of course, not everything can be so straightforward. So hopefully I show you, you get the idea. It's not too confusing here. But so I'm gonna put something from my teams and channels, and I'm in my action items over here. So what I can do, I'm in the general channel actually over here. So I can go and find a specific file that I want to everyone to work on. Maybe it's this lesson 3 file, and look at my options. I could upload a copy of it, or I could share a link. I want to share a link in this case. I'm posting it to the general. I'm saying, hey everyone, if you can contribute to this. So I'm going to do share link. So look what it does. It creates the link to it and allows me to type the message. Hey everyone, I like doing this. Here is the file we talked about during the meeting. Let's work on it together. Okay, so now when I post this out, they have what looks like an attachment, but anyone that clicks on it, try that again, it's going to load directly into our Teams area here, okay? And then we could all start working on it together. Just like before, you can click on Open in Desktop app, and it's going to put that out there as well. Now, how about if you want to share with people and you're not necessarily in a Teams channel, you're not in a Teams site. So if I go to my chat over here and I start a new message, and I'm just going to close out of this. I'm going to send it to Robin Teacher. And I'm going to try to attach something. So I'll go to attach. And what I could do is I can either attach it from OneDrive. So I'll go to OneDrive, and it sees all those same folders. I can attach this one and share it. Now what's neat is after I share this, if I'm sharing it with individuals who don't already have access to it, it will automatically grant them that access to it right over here, which is really nice. That full access, it's the read and write access. But now if I go and attach something from my computer, for example, I want to attach this file over here. I can click on open, and what's going to happen is it's going to tell you, okay, a file with this name already exists in the folder. What would you like to do? So let me do replace in this case, since I've already done this this example before. Let me actually try a different file just to really show you what like the typical procedure would be. So I'm going to go down to my desktop. I'll go into my my files over here, and I'm just looking for something that I can use here. So we have this. I'll upload this demo file there. I'll click open, and it's going to upload the file. Hit enter, and what should happen is it's going to be stored in this area over here, files in this chat, so everyone can work together on the files you create. We're not seeing it just yet. It might take a second for it to actually upload, but that's what should happen there. There we go. Now we can see our files. So anything that is available for both of us, we're going to see that right there. Okay, so along with being able to see those files in this Files tab, if I were to go to my OneDrive here, what you can see is I can still see that file that I just uploaded, and notice the location. It's in this Microsoft Teams chat file. So there's a special location for things you upload directly to Teams. So not only do you access it in your Teams chat file area, it's still available from your OneDrive under the Shared by Me tab. If we go back to OneDrive again, I'll show you a few other ways that Teams interacts with OneDrive. So along the side over here, I have shared libraries. So from here, I can access each of the different team sites I have, the underlying files. So maybe there's something over here that I want to copy into OneDrive for some reason. I want to make a secondary copy of it to edit it on my own, something like that. I can still access each of my shared libraries. Or maybe the reverse is true. You have something in your own OneDrive and you want to move it over to your team site. You want to share it with everyone. Well, you can find the file and then move it over to one of these areas over here. If you're not seeing one of your team sites listed here, what you can do is in your teams, so let's say it's this one, this training accounts is not appearing, or maybe we could find a better one here. This virtual U training demo is not currently showing, and we can verify that. So I could go here and I could see that I don't see that HR training virtual U demo, and then this one is, yeah, so it is actually showing in there. Let me see if I can find another one. Maybe this one over here. HR external test. So that one's not showing there. So if I click on more libraries, you can see over here that I do get access to quite a few of the different groups that I'm a part of. Okay, and it is showing down here. So I'll show you in the case where a group is not showing, see where it says followed. What you can do is find whatever that that group is. Maybe this one. Let me go back. Looks like they all are for the most part. So I'll take you through the example anyways. You find the team that isn't. It's not showing for whatever reason. You go to the files area and click on open in SharePoint. So this is going to take you to the SharePoint view of the group. And then you have this follow button over here. So let's check actually. If I go back to my shared library. So this is called test 2. So you can see here the G-test2 team, we have this other version of it, but this one in particular is not showing. So what I have to do is click on this little follow icon up here. And now when I go back, if I refresh this, it should show now. And it might take a while. I don't want to waste too much time on this, but this typically will, yeah, there we go. So now we have, this team was not previously showing. We saw this other one, that's a different group, but this was not showing. And now by going into, so I'll do that again. You click on, you find the team you want, you go to the Files tab, and you click on Open in SharePoint to get you to that underlying SharePoint of your team, and then you click on the follow icon up here. And then that will allow you to see your team in the OneDrive view. So from here, I can pick on a file, this sharing and collaborating, and maybe what I want to do is I want to copy this or move it somewhere. So I could say move to, and now from here, I'll see all those sites and I'll be able to dump it into OneDrive and vice versa. Either I move it to Teams, move it to OneDrive, and so on. I get access both ways. So the next area that I'll get into here is, what if you have a file that's in one of your team sites and you want to share it with people outside of your team site? If you're on our Yammer group, you saw this. I posted this earlier in the week. But the really neat thing is you can take a file that's in a team site and share it with people that are outside of the site. So if I go to the Files tab, and let's say it's this project proposal. I want to share this out. Again, I'm going to click on Open in SharePoint. I'll find that project proposal, and from here I can click on the Share button. And it's just a matter of saying I want to share this with specific people, and I can start typing their names and email, whatever you want, just like we did from OneDrive and all the other apps. And essentially what's going to happen, I'll share it over with Kiwi. Once I send this off, if I go and look at that file again, and I look at the manage access over here, you can see that I've specified specific people can access that file. And these are just our standard users that access it. So it went and it added Kiwi into that specific people can edit. And as I add more people, they'll appear into that link group over there. In addition to this kind of stuff, remember that when you're using Teams, you can create those group chats, right? So you don't have to do, let's say it's like a bunch of people, none of them exist in a current team right now. Start the group chat and set it up right from here. So that's one suggestion. And also when you're collaborating, maybe you want to, I posted the file here and I see a few people maybe aren't, they didn't catch it. So maybe they have some of their notification settings off. So I could always @mention. And when I do this, it's going to hopefully flag their attention. If that still doesn't work, reach out, see what's going on. Maybe they're not currently in Teams. Have the conversation, make sure that they can get on Teams there. Okay, so now that we've shared our files out like 100 different ways, we can access our files from someone, whether that's us getting the email or we're finding it in OneDrive. So now we're ready to actually work collaboratively on this. We're going back to what we saw at the beginning of the class, doing that whole co-authoring business there. So remember that the following, what I'm going to demo of co-authoring multiple people in a file at the same time, only works if we share links to the files and not download the files to our own computer, and we're not sharing just an attachment, okay? So we're attaching links, not copies of the file, okay? So anytime you choose to download a file, you will not be able to collaborate on that new copy of the file, okay? So OneDrive and Teams allows up to a certain number of Office documents to co-author with your collaborators. So the hard limit is 99 concurrent editors. You could have 99 concurrent people in there at the same time. But really, Microsoft recommends no more than 10 editors at a time, which is very much reasonable. Okay, so the first thing we can do is in my training account, I'll find the file that we can work on together. And to this point, I've been doing Word documents, so maybe I'll go to this this file over here. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing for this individual. And I can do this off screen while that loads. So we have our file located in our Teams site there, and you can see that even though we're in Teams, I could kind of click around and start working on stuff. And you can see that we've already been in here doing all kinds of edits. So I'll find that that specific file there. And what you'll see as I start adding information as the other user, you can see that it just happens right away, right? Just like we saw earlier. So I'll be typing over here, and then I can see Robin is down there. And as they're typing, I'll see those dots over there, okay? So you can see who's editing by looking at the top area over here. So I can see Robin teachers in there. The more people that are on there, we'll see them over there. You can also click on their name and you can see where they're going. So let's try this out. If I go to a different tab altogether as this user, I can click on this and I can say go to location, and it's going to flip the tab. Okay, and they can do that for me as well. And as we did earlier, you can click on open in desktop app. So when we were doing this in OneDrive, it was the Office Online version, but notice over here, it's actually in Teams. So that works quite nicely. But now I could open up the desktop app, and you can see here, this is good actually. We had a problem, so we're sorry this didn't work. Try saving again later, and if that doesn't work, click save a copy. If you see this, it's not working properly, and it happens every now and then. But be very careful because you don't want to start editing this version and now you have a different copy. So what I would say is close it down and just continue working on it in the browser if that's the case. You can try it again. So I could say open in desktop app again. It might still not work. There might be something going on with the server. Yeah. Keep this in mind. And if it doesn't work, just go back and continue working on it here for now and try it again at a later time. So we do prefer recommending to co-author using Office Online if you can. You can also, instead of doing it mounted in Teams, if you click here, you could say open in browser, and it's going to open it in the browser there. And it looks like this version will work just fine. The thing you don't want to do is download. If you click download, you're, like I said, you're making a copy, and that's not gonna work for anyone. Office 2016 does its best to keep all the different copies synchronized, but you may occasionally get that prompt that we just saw. And I would shy away from using it in that state. It should still try to merge the differences, but don't risk it. Okay. Final topic to look at is sharing from Outlook. So in Outlook, I just bring my, my Outlook window over here, I can create a new email. And what I'm able to do is go to attach file over here. And notice it's pulling in my most recent files, but I can do something neat. I could go to web locations and I could view my OneDrive. So if I click that, it's going to open up my OneDrive over here, and I could start browsing my OneDrive. That's because I have OneDrive set up locally. But then I can also do things like browse web locations. So I can see the different teams that I'm a part of, okay? Your mileage may vary with this. Sometimes I find I try to find a document that I know I have stored in Teams. I can't find it. So what we would say is probably a better way of going about it is doing it through the OneDrive app. Find the file, generate a link there, and then come up back and paste it in the email. If you do have issues using that attached file, okay? So there might be times when a team site or a OneDrive folder just simply doesn't appear in that menu, okay? So those are the big topics that we wanted to cover. Thank you so much for attending the course. If you have any questions, feel free to stay around. I'll be sending out the email with all the links to the course material very shortly. Thank you so much for your time today.